Coming up on Mountain News this morning, following the recent prescription opioid bust, I talked to a man who has struggled with addiction for some of his life. Meanwhile, millions of dollars are being funneled into the opioid fight right here in the mountains. We will tell you how. And we take a look back at the life and legacy of former Hazard Mayor Bill Morton.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 4:59 on Friday, April the 19th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. It is good to be back on the morning show, especially because a strong little bit of rain and wind woke me up around 3 o'clock this morning. Hopefully it didn't wake up any of you. But let's bring in Brandon, because Brandon, might be a constant theme that we see throughout the day is some heavy rain and some gusty winds.
Back and forth throughout the day and maybe even throughout the first part of the weekend. So even though it's a Good Friday, it's not a Good Friday weather-wise as we head out the door this morning. Let's go to live pinpoint Doppler radar and take a little tour as we head through the first part of your day. Some heavy rain falling down into parts of Whitley County, Bale County, Knox County, all in Claiborne County, Tennessee. Manchester going back along the Hal Rogers Parkway toward Hyden there, getting some heavier bands of rain up 66 as well. So just be careful this morning. Temperatures falling slowly across the area, upper 50s and low 60s down to the south, still close to 70 there, Prestonsburg and Logan. But the headlines for today, that cold front swinging through, bringing those windy conditions as Will mentioned. Rain continues tomorrow, but as we head toward Easter Sunday, things get back on the sunny side. The rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
All righty, Brandon. Thank you, sir. Well, following Wednesday's major developments in the fight against drugs, we dug deeper into the opioid epidemic and how some doctors contribute to the problem. It all started when federal officials announced charges against dozens of medical professionals in several states, including 5 right here in the mountains. Yesterday, I met up with one man who fought the battle against drugs. While he left that life behind, he is now using his past to help others battle the debilitating grips of addiction, and about the lengths people go to find their drug of choice. He says it was finding God and people who wanted to help.
There were many times where I understood that this is not going to be able to continue. I need some help. I need to stop. But every time I would try to do that on my own, I would fail miserably.
Opioids, they grab a hold of lives, changing the way your body and mind operate.
You feel, euphoric, but it's also just a calmness. Your nerves relax. Your pains, your little aches and pains are gone.
Finding a drug dealer for some is easy. They have a plug on the street, someone they go to for a quick fix. But others, they have a doctor they know.
If you can get it that way, it not that it adds a legitimacy to it, but it does add a protection.
Carl Varney has seen it up close. People heading into a doctor's office with what they say is an ailment. Sometimes taking fake or forged medical records to get what they need.
As long as you had an MRI, as long as you had some x-rays that showed, a disc out of place, it didn't even have to be your MRI.
He says it is no secret. Some doctors pre-sign prescriptions or even leave them behind for office staff to hand to patients. All of this going down without the forethought of who it might affect the most. A family.
Every relationship that person has, because everybody around the person in addiction suffers the consequences of that person's addiction.
But there is hope. Exposing these doctors and supporting those fighting. Hope it will bring an end to an epidemic and start to repair the families, relationships, and lives torn apart. Varney is now working for Operation Unite and as a youth pastor at Manchester Baptist Church. Of those 5 in eastern Kentucky indicted in the sting, we learned 2 are set for trial June 18th in Frankfort Federal Court. One is Floyd County dentist Denver Tackett. Prosecutors say he wrote prescriptions without any legitimate medical purpose. They say he also removed people's teeth when it was not necessary. He is also accused of inappropriately billing for services. The other is Dr. Mohammed Mazumder. He is accused of allegedly pre-signing prescriptions for his staff to give to patients. Meanwhile, a historic grant was announced yesterday to help fight the opioid epidemic. $87 million is being awarded to the UK Center on Drug and Alcohol Research. The donation from the National Institutes of Health is the largest grant ever awarded to the university. The goal of this project is to reduce opioid overdose deaths in 16 Kentucky counties, including Knox and Floyd. Law enforcement officials in Knox County who have spent decades fighting the opioid crisis say they're optimistic about this grant. Their fear, however, is that many opioid users have started turning to meth instead.
When Oxycontin was big, we had a lot of overdose deaths. A lot of the Oxycontin had changed to where they'd make it a gel. A lot of people would shoot it up or snort it up. Well, they finally made a gel where you couldn't do that. Finally, it's sort of obsolete. Now everybody's changed their drug to meth.
Every second could be the
The grant will improve and expand treatment, increase overdose training, and work to reduce the opioid supply. Kentucky is ranked 5th in the country in opioid overdose deaths. All of this will likely be a topic of next week's National RX Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit in Atlanta. On Thursday, we learned President Trump will speak Wednesday. It runs Monday through Thursday. I will be in attendance and have coverage through the week. Well, in other news this morning, former Hazard Mayor Bill Morton has died. Morton served 2 terms as mayor of Hazard from 1970 to 1977. He was also a World War II veteran and often sang at church and community events. He started working at Home Lumber Company as a teenager and was president of the business from 1962 until 1988. In 2013, at the age of 90, Steve Hensley asked him on Issues and Answers how he would like to be remembered.
I guess Bill Morton, a two-before man. I worked in the lumber business, which I think is, it helps one of the necessities of life. We all have to have shelter. And I'm always proud to be involved in a business that provided a roof over people's heads and shelter for their bodies. And also, we're very fortunate we have 5 wonderful children. And I want to wish them success, and I'm very proud of them.
We offer our deepest condolences to the Morton family. Now, Morton's wife, Betty, died earlier this year. His visitation is Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. A memorial service will follow at Maggard's Mountain View Chapel. Bill Morton was 95. Thank you for getting your day started with us right here on Mountain News this morning. Coming up, today is not only Good Friday, it is also National Garlic Day. We will tell you about some dishes you can make with it.
Whatever you do decide to make, I would do it inside because the weather is not going to cooperate for much of this Good Friday. I'll have a soggy and cooler forecast in about 3 minutes.